Welcome.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. 1 o'clock on the dot, my goodness. Thanks so much for being here with us for another day of Chicago Live. We certainly appreciate it. Always love having you here online. And I'm your host, Anita Blanton. I'll be with you through 4 p.m. So we have plenty of things to get into today. Let's kind of go over what's to come in this first hour that we have here together. We're going to talk to Southside Bloom, some really interesting things that are in bloom for this local business, as they will not only be serving the South Side, but also the West Side now. So looking forward to catching up with them and finding out about all the good things that are happening for them. Around 1:30, we're going to talk about remote work and a new study that just came out that really talks about the long-lasting impacts from the time period during COVID where so many people began to really start to embrace, companies, individuals started to embrace remote work, and the changes that have happened since then in terms of people maybe doing hybrid schedules or going back into the office full time. But what has changed within us in that time period? What that time period has fundamentally shifted in society for us. We'll talk about that around 1:30. I'll let you know about some of our local headlines that are trending online around 1:15. We're also finding out more and more, this is a very interesting year where we get a lot of history lessons in terms of America's 250th. Well, yesterday we were talking about 86 years for Dairy Queen in Joliet. And sure enough, we're turning back to Joliet today because they actually had the first fried apple pie from McDonald's. And of course, McDonald's is bringing back the fried apple pie this year. And so we're going to go back to our friends in Joliet and talk about all the great things happening there and the momentum that is shifting there in Joliet as we mark 250 years. Of course, Route 66 is marking 100 years, and so it's bringing a whole lot of visitors there to Joliet for many different reasons. Lots of food, lots of history, all of those things. So some great conversations to come, but we're going to start here with our friends on the West Coast. We have just we've gotten some bombshell new information over the last 48 hours here into the Nancy Guthrie case. Of course, Nancy Guthrie being the mother of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie, and still scratching our heads on this one. But we bring in Matt Finn from Fox News to catch us up with the new developments that have just come out. Matt, thank you so much for your time.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Let's talk about these notes that now we're hearing about that were actually, or letters that are, we're getting more information about now, after so much time.
Yeah, so originally back in February, there are 2 notes that are believed to have been sent to the media intended for the Guthrie family, ransom letters. And it is now being made public that the second note indicated that Nancy Guthrie had passed away after she was taken from her home. And sources tell us the wording is believed to have read that Nancy Guthrie was buried with nature. Now, Savannah Guthrie, the NBC anchor, she spoke about this update on the Today Show this morning. She says her family is in agony. She's again pleading for help. She says she's not actually a part of the news coverage of this story over at NBC, but she can't pretend that she's not there on set. And so she took the opportunity this morning to ask people to come forward if anybody knows anything. Police have never announced any arrests in relation to 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie going missing from her Tucson home on February 1st. There's a $1.2 million reward. There's a $1 million reward from Savannah Guthrie. There's also a government award and a Crime Stoppers award. Law enforcement has never confirmed if these original notes are indeed authentic, but we are told the messages are treated as if they're real. And Savannah Guthrie said in an interview herself that she believes the first 2 notes intended for the family could possibly be real. NBC reports that the first note that was sent to the Guthrie family in February said that Nancy was safe and demanded crypto for her return, but the second note did not ask for any more money, and it was very different in nature from the first note. And we are now learning that that second one indicated that Nancy had passed. And I will say, I was on the ground in Tucson for weeks covering this, and there was chatter on the ground that the second note, or one of the later notes, may have informed the family that Nancy had passed away. That was some of the information that was circulating. And also, shortly after that second note came in, Savannah Guthrie and her siblings posted a video on Instagram where it seemed like they may have been a bit deflated. They said, "We received your message. The most important thing is that you return our mother to us, and we will pay for her." Anita.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, it seemed like, I remember the message that you're talking about, and it seemed like they were saying so we could celebrate her, almost like celebrate her life, as though they knew.
Yeah, the original note apparently indicated that Nancy was alive. So one of the first videos that Savannah and her siblings put out, it seemed like they were still, operating off the idea that Nancy was still alive. The second one said right off the bat, and most people assume that Savannah was talking directly to her mother's kidnapper. Savannah said, "We received your message. We understand. The most important thing is that you return our mother to us," like you said, to celebrate with her. And a lot of people instantly seized on that word celebrate because that's used often after people pass away to celebrate someone's life.
Yeah, it was a much different tone there. So, I mean, are they hoping, I mean, in Savannah, I didn't get to see Savannah's comments today. Are they hoping that her remains at the very least will be, people hold out hope for years, for decades, in missing persons cases, that they'll get some type of closure. I can even imagine doing my job and just not knowing what happened to my parent and not knowing if I'll ever get any type of closure. Have they heard anything more since then?
Savannah usually says that she's not being told too much. She actually stays away from the news coverage. So she did not indicate one way or another if she had any more information, but she did say, "I'm not going to pass up on this opportunity," live on the Today Show once again, pleading for people to come forward with information. And, that note allegedly, sources tell us that note allegedly said that Nancy Guthrie was buried in nature. So presumably, perhaps, God willing, one day her remains will be found and the Guthrie family could get a little bit of closure and perhaps give her a proper burial or lay her to rest. Another thing that may happen is anybody involved or any of the associates of people involved could eventually talk too much, spill too much, leak too much, and then that gets around and then someone will turn them in. And then, of course, a lot of these cases, you and I know in the news, they're solved years or decades later with DNA. Any one of these are possibilities, but the family, Savannah insists that they are in agony. Agony is the word she keeps using, and she says not just herself, but her family as well.
Sure. I mean, I think we can all empathize to that level of course, I would be in agony too. And the videos that we saw, of that person that was at the door and taking apart the camera and all of those things. And, you just wonder, I mean, could someone have really gotten away with this? I mean, there has to be some type of DNA somewhere that slipped.
Yeah, that terrifying video of the masked suspect at the front door, who, by the way, authorities believe was about 5'9" average build. So far, no announced arrests, no reported arrests. And, I was in that neighborhood for weeks and weeks. It's very, very dark at night. In fact, there's local limitations on how much light properties can emit from there. They don't like what's called light pollution, so it's extremely, extremely dark at night. In fact, at one point I couldn't see my feet beneath me.
Wow.
So, in theory, this person, if they were operating with, no car lights, being as private and clandestine as possible, they could have got out of that neighborhood fairly easy. And then from there, it's a semi-rural area. Once you get outside of those neighborhoods, you can start to take some turns and get pretty rural pretty quickly. There are some street cameras in the area, but apparently they never caught anything. You have to imagine if any type of car or license plate was found, authorities may have been asking us to be on the lookout for that, but perhaps not. Maybe they're building a case in private.
Yeah, and then, I mean, having been on the ground there was also the conversation about how close it was to the border. Could someone have gotten out of the country? Where did that conversation go?
Yeah, that was talked about a lot, the possibility that any of these suspects could have made it across the border pretty quickly. And in fact, a week or two ago, there was this false alarm where there was, some type of tip submitted that Nancy Guthrie was also buried just across the Mexico border near Nogales. A federal source tells me that tip was looked into. Nancy's body was not found. But no, I don't think any law enforcement agency, local or federal, is ruling out the nexus to Mexico and the possibility that this suspect or suspects could have crossed over pretty quickly.
Yeah, and then of course there's just the question of what was it all for. Thank you, Matt. We really appreciate you. Who would have thought that we'd still be talking about this? Where is Nancy Guthrie with this much time that's passed? But thank you for staying on top of it.
Thank you.
All right, take care. It's about 1:11. I honestly, I could not even imagine. My hat is off to Savannah and her siblings, but Savannah being in a public-facing role during all of this, the fact that she's gone back to work, I guess none of us really know what we would do until we're in that situation. Hope to never be in that situation, but I can't imagine, going back to work and this still being a headline. And of course, at the end of the release, they're still asking anyone with information, and that could be anyone anywhere, right? So I'm going to give the information. The number here, 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-225-5324. Again, 1-800-225-5324. This poor family. Prayers are still with them right now. Let's take a 2-minute break, and then I'll kind of let you know about some of the headlines that we're looking at and we're talking about here in our area when we come back. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Just about 1:15. Momentarily, I'll tell you about our headlines. But we've got to talk about what's going on in Joliet yet again today. It's a really interesting time, exciting time for Joliet. You know, yesterday we were talking about Route 66 and all of the different celebrations that are happening for different things that kind of came about as a result of Route 66 in those first few years, especially after Route 66 was coming through the area. And so today we have John Carnaggio, who is a McDonald's owner-operator, and his restaurant is across, let's see, he's got restaurants across Chicagoland, but especially in Joliet. Who are you standing with?
Look at who we've got. We got Grimace here with us today.
Grimace! Yes. And tell us, so the OG fried apple, I'm sure Grimace was like throwing back in the day.
Yes, we're here to celebrate McDonald's largest fried apple pie and the introduction of fried apple pies in McDonald's restaurants for a limited time only.
I got excited, honestly, when I saw that they were making a comeback. I remember them from my childhood.
Yes.
And tell us about what, the nostalgia that they bring people.
It is so nostalgic. And just think about it. We're celebrating America's 250th birthday. What better way to do it than with one of America's most nostalgic desserts, the McDonald's fried apple pie, along nostalgic Route 66. We're just so excited to bring this to our customers in our restaurants.
Yeah. John, tell us about what's happening out there today. I see the Route 66 sign behind you, but what's happening?
Yeah, you might hear the band. We're going to do a ribbon cutting, as I said, to introduce McDonald's largest fried apple pie, as well as fried apple pies in our restaurants for a limited time only. We've got a band, we've got giveaways. The first customers that come to see this great apple pie are going to be able to sample it, and it's going to be a great day today. And you can see this right here in Joliet through July 4th.
Okay, so this will be McDonald's largest fried apple pie. I need to know the dimensions that we're working with and how you all are bringing this to life.
Listen, this thing's 35 feet tall. It is huge. And we're bringing it to life not just here at our ribbon cutting ceremony, but in our restaurants all summer long for a limited time.
I'm sure people are going to love it, absolutely love it. Tell me just about the significance of Route 66 to McDonald's there in Joliet.
Listen, Route 66 is iconic, especially here in Joliet, but really across the country. And as McDonald's owner-operators, really across the country, not just on Route 66, we couldn't be more proud to bring one of America's most iconic desserts back to help celebrate our 250th birthday, our fried apple pie, only at McDonald's.
I think the summer just got a lot more tasty, but
Yes.
this
Yes.
unveiling, it's going to be happening. Is it like momentarily?
Well, it'll be momentarily, probably within about 15 minutes. We're going to do a ribbon cutting and then open to the public. Come here, get here early so you can sample this great American dessert and take a look at McDonald's largest fried apple pie, 35 feet tall. It's huge.
Is it right over your shoulder? Can we just pan the camera to take a look at it?
It's right over my shoulder. Let's see if we can see it. It's over Ronald's or Grimace's head here.
Oh.
Take a look at that thing.
Whoa. How many people did it take to put that together?
Isn't that
And how
something?
much time?
Listen, that's a secret. That's a secret. But get out here and see it. This is something that you got to come and see. Again, an iconic American dessert on an iconic American highway celebrating an iconic birthday with the United States of America. We couldn't be more proud.
And I hear that this ribbon cutting is going to include the grandson of the owner-operator from the 1960s?
Yes. Yes. This is the family that actually introduced the fried apple pie into the McDonald's system in the 60s. And we haven't sold this in our restaurants in almost 30 years. So this is kind of a throwback to when we were all kids and kind of brings you back to your childhood, experiencing those great family memories, which we are so proud to bring into every restaurant across the United States.
Now, John, are you all going to break that life-size apple pie into bites, or is it just for looks?
It looks great, right? And we want to keep it looking great through July 4th. But we will have samples. We'll have samples out here. So you've got to, here, I got one right here. How about this?
Oh,
here's our samples
now you're
right
going to
here.
make me hungry.
So we're going to have samples. And I'll tell you, this parking lot's getting full. There's tons of people here. I think it's a tremendous amount of excitement. And why wouldn't you be excited? America's iconic fried apple pie. We're only at McDonald's.
Oh yeah, I mean, I all the memories of my grandma taking me over to McDonald's to get those fried apple pies are flooding my mind right now. And I see there's a trolley behind you. Is the trolley like dropping off more people to the celebration?
Probably. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If you could see in front of me and behind me, There's going to be hundreds of people here today celebrating this really historic event.
Well, it just looks like
And we've got Grimace here to help us too.
looks like so much fun for the entire family at that, and a time for more memories to be made. So thank you so much for taking some time out for us.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Absolute. Bye, Grimace.
Bye, Grimace. Give her a wave.
You all take care.
Thank you.
So cute, so cute. And I just remember, my grandma taking me over to go get those fried apple pies in the summer whenever I was visiting. Just a great part of our childhood. And they're bringing it back again for a limited time here to McDonald's, not just there in Joliet, but I think that is throughout the country that they're bringing them back. And they're doing this road trip for the Sweet Edition, and that's going to be through July 4th. So when I was asking him, are they going to break apart the OG fried apple, the largest fried apple? No, because they're taking it on the road for this road trip. Of course, they would bring it for Route 66 and the celebrations that are happening along Route 66 today, and that is until 2:30. But then they're going to take it on the road so that other people can enjoy it as well, at least looking at it. But you'll get your small fried apple pies while you're there. Listen, let's take a look at some of the things that are trending on our website right now while we have a few moments here before our next guest hops online. Big stories of the day. One of them, you already know, we're talking about the Bears again and the stadium drama. Of course, everyone wants to know where the future home of the Bears will be. And now McCook is getting in the mix. I was saying to my colleague Terrence Lee just a short time ago when I was talking to him on The Loop that I do remember, once I saw this headline, it immediately made me think about my conversation with the Republican candidate for lieutenant governor right now. That is Aaron Del Mar, when the Bears said, okay, we're moving forward with our plans for Northwest Indiana, for Hammond. And, of course, that was a shock to everyone's system, and Indiana was celebrating, but they did not fully close the door on Illinois. So when I'm talking to Aaron Del Mar, he says, I wouldn't be surprised if McCook puts in a proposal sometime soon. And I'm like, today? Well, he knew what he was talking about, because here we are. Now McCook says, all right, well, if Hammond can give you a 70,000 seat domed stadium, we can give you an 80,000 seat domed stadium. If you're worried about property taxes there, or even in Arlington Heights, right? And that has been a big part of the conversation and why things have kind of stalled with Arlington Heights, is this discussion about tax certainty for the Bears. Well, McCook says, hey, we'll lease it to you, so it's public land. We will lease it to you for $1. Come on over to McCook. And this has been quite the conversation today. Is it a long shot? Probably, but is it a possibility? I mean, if the door is still open, why not make a go for it? McCook, why not? So another Chicago suburb putting in their pitch here. And we have Brett Bugansky, who's working on that story today, talking with some Illinois legislators too, and trying to find out where they are even in their discussions. I mean, are we even getting close to like a special session where they could come back to the table and finally have something? For sure, Speaker Welch has always been one to remain pretty tight-lipped until he has the votes to actually pass something. So the fact that he hadn't said anything, we're like, so are you saying he doesn't have the votes yet? That this has been quite the season, the off season, right? This has felt almost, the cardiac Bears that we watched on the field. It's kind of felt that way in the offseason this year, as all of this discussion has gone round and round about where the future home for this wonderful team will be. And hopefully they have drowned out all of that noise. The players have, the coaches have, to just execute on the field, because one of the things that, of course, makes them the hot team is what they're doing on the field, right? So you got to keep the standard of excellence there on the field that you have created so that we can continue to go round and round and hopefully come to some type of resolution in terms of where their next home will be. Of course, today is also draft day for the NBA, so it's a big talker. And we're Sports City, we're Sports City. But right now, all of that is at a fever pitch, and I do believe that a little bit later on, we're going to actually pull in one of our own, Chris Kay, who's going to kind of break down the Bulls have the 4th and the 15th pick. So we'll pick his brain about what our chances are of possibly having 2-star Caleb's in the city, getting North Carolina's Caleb Wilson, and then who would we get at number 15? What are the possibilities there? And what is everyone saying about this draft class and the revamp that the Bears are trying to create? We need a revamp. So we've got a new coach. We've cleared house in terms of what's on the court. So now how do we put the pieces of the puzzle of success together? A lot of that hinges on tonight and getting some stars, some young stars that are coming into the league that are ready to do great things. So we'll see. Let's look at some other trenders here that we're looking at right now. And I see here, the conversation that we just had about this new ransom note surfacing for Nancy Guthrie, that's also trending on our website right now as more people, it was a huge story that everyone followed, especially in the beginning. And like most missing persons cases, it doesn't matter whether it's a high profile or every day. There's a point where it's all over the headlines, and then there's a point where a family still has to hope, wish, push for justice, for closure, if that's what it is, without the cameras around. And so new developments there in the Nancy Guthrie case. We also have back here at home an Illinois police chief issuing a warning to parents after a Georgia man allegedly traveled to meet a local girl. This is another one of our trending stories here that I believe we're going to talk a little bit more about here on the show as well. This 24-year-old Georgia man now charged after allegedly traveling to Lake County to meet a girl he believed was 14 or younger than 14. So detectives found the child, thank goodness, and the suspect about 12 hours after she was reported missing. Speaking of missing persons cases here, and we all know that, of course, in those first few hours, that hopefully don't go to first few days, but those are the most quintessential periods of time for all of these cases, when you're hoping that these investigators, detectives can get some kind of lead that leads to an actual person. At the very least, the person that you're looking for, at the very most, the suspect too. So Lake County Chief of Law Enforcement, Chris Cavelli, who we talk to often about these types of cases, he says parents should closely monitor their children's online activity. I know that's a pretty hard thing to do these days. And it's a really hard thing to do for parents, but it is so important. And this case just underscores those words of warning that come out every so often, that they're not just words, but that they could actually save lives in terms of, I know kids want their privacy, whether it's in their home or even online, but it's really incumbent upon parents to know what's happening online, because you just don't know who is on the other side of a screen. Okay, it's just about 1:29, everyone, and I believe our next conversation is about remote work and a new study that's out about it, the changes that have happened to society since we all embraced remote work. Were some of those good? Probably. Were some of those maybe negative? Probably. We'll get into the details of the study when we come back. Give us 2 minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. 1:31 right now, and I don't think anyone would be surprised by this next statement. Remote work has quadrupled in the half decade since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, if we're really thinking about it, sure. I mean, you could see that. I mean, it was huge, a huge help to us during uncertain times of the pandemic. And there have been so many questions about it ever since. Those who have continued to do remote work, those who have gone to hybrid work, and many of the businesses that have said, all right, it's time for everybody to come back into the office. And what long-standing changes this is implemented for society. Let's get into a new study that's out. Emma Harrington with the Department of Economics at the University of Virginia, Charlottesville, is joining us right now. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you sharing more of the study.
Thanks so much for having me.
I would say, what made you all want to look into this? But I think everyone is wondering what really shifted fundamentally with society as a result of the pandemic, and remote work was a huge part of that time period.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had sort of gone into this study thinking, well, we've learned a lot about the productivity impacts of remote work since the start of the pandemic, but we hadn't learned quite as much about how remote work impacts people's life outside of work, their general well-being, how they're doing on a day-to-day basis. And so that's really what we went into this study trying to learn more about.
And what were some of your findings? I mean, did you find as much positive as negative?
What we found overall was that when looking at different measures of people's mental well-being, we saw deterioration for everyone around the pandemic. It was just a difficult time. But what really stood out to us in the data was that that deterioration was much bigger for people in remote capable jobs. So things like software engineers, or things like me, like an economist, things that you can do from home. They didn't go back to the office in the same way, and they also didn't see their mental health sort of go back to baseline. And so we see this in a variety of different measures, and we think a lot of that's coming from the fact that ever since the increase in remote work, people in these remote capable jobs have been spending a lot more time alone, not just during their workday, but spending more days where they just have really no meaningful social contact with other people at all.
Yeah, we've just become a more isolated society in general.
Definitely. And it's a difficult thing when it's layered on top of the fact that, as the Surgeon General said a few years ago, America is in this loneliness epidemic, that there's lots of reasons why people are becoming more isolated, and remote work is sort of layering on top of that. It's worth noting that our results are really being driven by people who live alone. So for those people, they are not having more time with their family at home. They're potentially not going to work and having those coworker interactions, and then also not interacting passively with other people at home as well. For people who live with partners and or children, we see that remote work doesn't seem to have really boosted their mental health, but it also doesn't seem to have as negative a consequences for them.
I do remember, the early part of the pandemic, it seemed like a lot of domestic violence cases were actually going up in many different areas for people who did have families at home, but everyone was inside together for long periods of time. I mean, there is something to be said for the social interaction that happens outside of the home and how that helps us to function as a society.
Yeah, I think that that's a great point. I mean, I think another thing that we're starting to see in the data is that some parents have also pulled back on childcare spending in response to remote work, which super sympathetic to. I mean, childcare is extremely expensive. But you can also imagine that that's putting extra strain on people, that they're trying to do this difficult juggling act of working while also taking care of their kids.
So, I mean, when you start to see and let me ask you this in two parts. One, were these results pretty immediate that you saw this, or did it take some time?
I mean, we saw it pretty immediately once we started digging into the data. So if you just plot sort of the raw data of like what's happened over time for people in these different groups of occupations, you can see it pretty immediately. So it doesn't take a lot of sort of wrangling of the data to see this result, especially with things like isolation, but also with things like people's subjective well-being and their utilization of mental health care services and usage of things like antidepressants. The data shows this pretty clear pattern that we've seen increases for everyone, but really larger increases for people in these remote capable types of jobs.
And then the other part of that, I wonder, is did you have any study on people that then returned to the office and what difference that made for them?
Yeah, I think that would be so interesting. Unfortunately, in our data, it's hard for us to identify that specifically. So we can basically see people in these remote capable jobs over time, and we know that remote work's increased for them in a persistent way, but our data doesn't allow us to see whether this specific individual has gone back to the office or not. We're thinking about trying to do some follow-up work where we could use other data sets that might allow us to speak to that question. You could imagine that has also been a stressful thing, especially if people arrange their life around remote work and now have to go back to the office. That could be disruptive in a different way.
And did you see that people were more productive at home? Because there was also the argument as to, some people felt like they were more productive at home. Some people felt like, and I think maybe from an employer standpoint, well, if you have a million things happen at home, if your kids are at home, if you have a spouse at home, all of these things, how could you be more productive? I mean, there were lots of different arguments for that productivity when it comes to remote work.
Yeah, studies are kind of all over the place in terms of the productivity impacts. I'd say in general, most studies find that productivity goes up when people are remote. When you think about productivity in terms of how many tasks people are checking off their to-do list, if you think about the quality of the work, it's maybe a more complicated story. Some of that could be distractions, harm quality of work. But I think a lot of it, our research suggests maybe that when people are remote, they get less feedback from their peers. And so for young people and people who are new hires at their companies specifically, we see more negative impacts on the quality of what they produce when they're remote.
Yeah. And, I've read a lot about what happens to creativity in that bubble too, because if you're not in the office to be able to bounce ideas off of each other, I mean, sure, you could send messages online to each other, but there is something unique to what comes out of in-person discussions, and the ideas that can come from those discussions that may not happen when you're just typing to each other.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and there's different studies on that kind of touch on those different pieces of it that you just mentioned. So there's some studies that show that knowledge is just less likely to flow through an organization when people are remote. In theory, they could reach out to anyone if everyone's just a ping away, but in reality, they rarely do that. And then there's another sort of fascinating study that was published in Nature where they put people into rooms together, and some people were in the same physical room and other people were in different rooms on Zoom. And even in that setting where the two people have gotten over whatever friction they have and are in a conversation with one another, the people who were physically together came up with more creative ideas than the people who were physically apart and interacting on a screen with one another. So it does seem like it has these many different impacts on people's creativity. And me and a co-author have actually written a book. It'll be coming out in October, but is available now for pre-order, that talks about these creativity impacts in more detail, as well as the other sorts of trade-offs that come from remote work.
After doing this study, what questions do you still have? What things are you still interested in finding out that you weren't able to get answers to yet, that you are still working toward getting answers to?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if we can do more to see if there are people who are exceptions, who really do benefit in their mental well-being from being remote. I think some of the feedback that we've gotten on this article has been really interesting and opened our eyes to all of the various experiences that people have in the workplace. And some people just say their workplaces are not well designed for them. And so we want to dig in more to understanding whether in the data we can see that really playing out for people.
Mm-hmm. Certainly, I think different industries can function, obviously, very different in that type of way. Some may lend themselves to it being more easily adaptable to remote work than others. Then I think about the families, the people that I know who felt like with remote work they were able to make it work around their families better, and therefore they were just a more content employee, because if I have the flexibility to make this remote work for my family, then I'm able to do more. There's so many different ways you can look at all of this.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your research into this, something that's, again, been a talker for us now for half a decade. It's mind-boggling that we're that far away from COVID, and yet still trying to, figure out what all happened to us and through us during COVID.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Thanks so much for having me.
Take care. Have a great rest of your day. All right, everyone. We're coming up on 1:45, so give us 2 minutes before we bring in the founder of Southside Blooms. Okay, welcome back, everyone. 1:46 right now, and Southside Bloom is hosting their grand opening of a new location that takes them to the west side. And so we have the founder of Southside Blooms with us right now. So happy to have Ms. Blackwell here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And tell me your first name. I didn't want to butcher it here.
Keelan.
Keelan? All right. Keelan,
Yep.
Thank you so much for being on the show. We certainly appreciate it, and congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited to be opening up on the west side and bringing flowers to the west side of Chicago.
Tell me about the journey.
Yeah, so the Staines Foundation actually reached out to us back in 2023. They heard about our work on the south side in Inglewood, and they thought that it would be a great addition for the project that they were doing at the Fillmore Center. So, they recruited us, they helped us get acclimated to the Fillmore Center, and they've been critical through the whole process of bringing us to the west side. And now we get to celebrate with all of our stakeholders on the west side with this grand opening.
That's awesome. What have you heard from people about, just opening up something so special there in this area that has been under or disinvested for years?
Yeah, I mean, people are really excited. I mean, our whole work, our mission is to use sustainability to alleviate poverty. So basically what that means is we really work within the community to build bottom-up economic solutions. So yeah, when you talk about any sort of, economically downtrodden community, people get excited when you talk about jobs and bringing in economic activity. We've already hired about 10 youth on the west side already. They're working on the farms as well as, making arrangements. So yeah, we're really, really excited. It's been a very positive response, for the community there.
I love it. And tell me what it's like for the youth when they first start. I mean, I'm a country girl, so for me, if you said, "Oh, we're going to work on this farm," I'd be like, "Oh, great." But like if you grow up in the city, this is kind of a little foreign to you. So what is it like when they first start doing all of these things?
I mean, this is new for all of our youth. Definitely, are the youth that we work with, they never thought that flowers could be, part of their future. So there's a lot of curiosity. Sometimes there's skepticism. But for the most part, they're excited to just have an opportunity, to make money. And then as they get further along, the career and the training, they get pretty excited about it because like flowers take them all sorts of places. We do events at the Field Museum, now at the Obama Center, pretty much all the major venues in Chicago. We have retail flowers, so they stay busy. And they like the fact that they're able to, see other sides of the city that they normally wouldn't be able to see.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's so important, when we talk about, youth wanting to get out of the neighborhood that they're in and see other things, and how for that in and of itself to some people may seem like a foreign concept, that someone has not seen what the rest of Chicago looks like outside of their neighborhood, and you're opening up their eyes to so many new things and places.
Yeah, I mean, flowers really is a bridge builder. Chicago, is a wonderful city with 77 different neighborhoods, and unfortunately for a lot of our youth, they really haven't seen beyond just their neighborhood, or in many cases their own block. So being able to, be a bridge builder and help bridge communities in this city has been absolutely amazing. Because this is the thing, like everybody loves flowers. I have yet to meet somebody who says, "Oh man, I hate flowers," and everyone uses flowers, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a funeral, whether it's a corporate event. So, flowers have kind of become a common language between different cultures and different neighborhoods in our city. And it's been really cool to sort of see, that more organic healing process in our communities, and for our youth to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm. And for you, I mean, do you have aspirations to continue to open up shop in more neighborhoods around the city?
Oh, heck yes. Yeah, we definitely want to open up flower shops, not just throughout Chicago, but, really across the country. That's really our grand ambition, is to bring flowers to every inner city community in the United States. We currently have about 300 youth on our waiting list who would love to have an opportunity to work with us. So we definitely feel the pressure to, grow and expand so that we're not turning away youth who want that opportunity and that chance to work here.
What does it mean to you? I mean, to get to a point in your life where you are providing these opportunities for, honestly, generational change.
So on a personal level, it feels, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think it would get this big, when my wife Hannah and I started. Really it just kind of began because, I'm a Christian. I just sort of took up my cross and followed Jesus and, came to Inglewood. I'm originally from Wisconsin. I didn't know what kind of adventure that, be on. If you fast forward 14 years and, here we are, and seeing the life that, of the youth and of the farms and, of the communities, and just seeing the hope and people really believing in a more, vibrant and colorful future. It gives me goosebumps, and it's, I feel very lucky to be in this position. And it just makes me want to be able to bring that type of hope to other communities around the country.
Yeah, and you mentioned taking them over to the Obama Center, and of course, hope is a central theme there. We were just there for the opening ceremonies last week. What is the message that you give young people when you are, initially starting up something like this?
Yeah, so the big message that we tell our youth is that, God does not create junk, that their lives are not worthless. You have to understand that many of our youth, they come from very traumatic backgrounds. A lot of them, been, kind of set up to think that they don't have something to offer. So, the number one thing that we really stress to our youth is no, you're valuable, your life is meaningful, and, you have something to contribute, not just to yourselves, not just to your families, but, to the world, really. And they see that through the different creations that they're making with the flowers. The youth, they do 90% of the actual work. They do the design, they're doing the farming, so they're the ones who are, really propelling this organization and this mission. The big thing is that, their lives are worth being preserved. Their lives are valuable, and everyone sees, every day when you buy flowers from us, you're seeing just how valuable they are.
I think the world of what you all are doing, I really do, and I'm so glad that it's continuing to grow and to bloom, and can't wait for the stories over the years as you do take more territory. I believe in it. I know it's going to happen. So tell everyone where the new location is so that they can support you, and maybe if they're not even going to the location, how they can do that online.
Yeah, so it's at the Fillmore Center in Lawndale. It's off of Pulaski and Fillmore. However, if you want to support us, it's very easy. You go to southsideblooms.com. We are an e-commerce flower shop, and we ship for free all across the United States. So, if you have family and friends who don't live in Chicago, we can deliver to them. Just go to southsideblooms.com, and hopefully you'll make us your florist of choice.
How are you all able to do that, to ship for free?
Well, I can't give away all of our corporate secrets, you know what I mean? But yes, we are able to, ship for free across the country. And it's set up to be very convenient to our customers. Can't let all the tricks out the bag,
And one last question. At what point did flowers become your thing or your wife's thing?
Yeah, so flowers. So at first we didn't start with flowers. We started with trying to do urban ag and trying to explore a lot of different other ways to induce economic development. Basically my thing was people. I really just had a passion for people. Same thing for my wife Hannah. We're just very passionate about, stemming a lot of the violence and bloodshed on the south and west sides of the city. So that's our passion. Flowers just kind of became a means to an end. So once we sort of saw that our youth were very talented at floristry and that there's real economic opportunity there, then we went all in on it. But yeah, at the heart of this mission, it's about preserving human life. It's about preserving ecological life and the life of the environment. So yeah, my passion's people, and they'll always be people.
God bless you. Love what you all are doing, and I can't say that enough. Thank you so much for joining us today on what is a very special day for you all.
Thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
It's really awesome. I love to see, we pretty much every day, we hear about businesses coming, businesses going. Love to see a business that started and is continuing to grow, a local business with folks with good hearts that just want to continue to pour into the community. And we know that's not easy. It's not easy for many different reasons. That's not easy. But they continue to give and to pour into, especially young people, to see them thrive. And if we talk about the many different things that young people are getting into, that we have to report on a regular basis, and we're often talking about what are the solutions, and if there are 50 more folks like those there at the Southside Blooms, all cultivating this spirit of trying to help turn lives around and really allowing these young people to bloom in positivity, the better we could all be. So wonderful for them that this grand opening for Southside Blooms, now their second flower shop at the Fillmore Center, historic North Lawndale Center, that will now be a home for change. All right, let's take 2 minutes, and then I'll let you know what's coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're now in our 2 o'clock hour here on Chicago Live. Let's talk about what's going to be coming up in this hour. We have White Sox Serve Week that we are in the midst of right now. They've been doing this for 15 years, where they have 6 days of the organization showing up across Chicago in ways beyond baseball here. And this really obviously focuses on philanthropy. And so we're going to talk to them about some of the different stops that they're making and the imprint that they are making on many lives throughout Chicagoland. I'm wondering if this is, I think it's more than just Sox fans that, that they're stopping to see this week, but they're just wanting to do some goodwill, and we love that. Okay, we have to talk about Amazon Prime Day. It's a whole lot of money. It's gonna be spent by Americans this week. And of course, Amazon Prime Day is actually 4 days. But I believe that the total is somewhere in the area of $23 billion that's expected to be spent for this go round. And we'll talk to CNET about how to kind of wheel and deal, how to make sure you're getting the right items, what you should buy now, what can wait, all of those things we'll talk about coming up in just a bit. This should be around 2:30. Shopping Prime Day like a pro. All right, we'll get you ready. We'll get you prepared for spending those dollars and getting the best deals. That's more important. We also have to have a conversation about tornadoes in our area. Just never would have thought, really. And I've lived and worked in Oklahoma, lived and worked in Texas, and you kind of felt like those were, especially Oklahoma, like that's traditional tornado alley. When you talked about tornadoes back in the day, you always talked about Oklahoma. I mean, there is a center there for that reason. But Illinois is actually leading the way for tornadoes in the country right now. And it's actually the third time in the last 4 years that Illinois has led the country in tornadoes. Of course, we just had 2 lives lost over the weekend, even Sunday night, Father's Day, from tornadoes in the southern portion of our state. And so we're going to pull in one of the experts at Northern Illinois University, who we've had on the show before, who's going to give us an idea of, is it a matter of tornado alley shifting, or what's really going on out there? We'll get into that conversation shortly, but we're starting off this hour with a bit of history that pulls us into an outlook on the future that's happening at the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry for their South Entry now. And we have Dr. Chevy Humphrey, the president and CEO of the Griffin MSI, who's joining us to talk about this special moment in time. Wonderful having you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dr. Humphrey, tell us about what's getting ready to happen right now on the South Lawn.
We are so excited. So we're actually going to begin renovation and beautification of our incredible South Portico in this spring of 2026, actually the summer of 2026. And the project will increase our accessibility, add modern amenities. It'll have all gender restrooms. It'll have a cafe. And while restoring the splendor of this very important landmark exterior structure, we're so excited. This structure has not been used since our 1893 Columbian Exposition. This was the original entrance of our building, and we're restoring it today.
That is so wild to think that it hasn't been used since 1893, and now here we are, and it's in our time, in our lifetime, that you all are getting ready to bring it back to its full splendor here. Have you looked at pictures from before? Is there going to be some type of like tie-in to the old and the new?
Yes, we actually want to preserve the original facade and look and the original intent of the building. And we have brought on Robert A.M. Stern Architects to actually do a light touch to any of the modernization, because, I mean, we're in a very historic design building by Charles Atwood and Daniel Burnham that built the building. And we want to make sure that we maintain and preserve the feel and the look that was the originally intended of the building.
And what does it mean to you to kind of shepherd this moment in time, and why now?
I'm just really proud that we're going to be able to restore this entry, because we now will have an opening to Jackson Park, our incredible partners at the Osaka Garden, and of course our new neighbors, the Obama Presidential Center. And it really creates this museum campus south, and we can connect, and that makes me very excited. In addition, what makes me very excited is that we will have an ADA accessible entrance.
I think that all of this sounds amazing, and I love that you said Museum Campus South, because when I was speaking with Valerie Jarrett recently for the opening of the Obama Center, that is kind of what's in their minds, is that this is becoming a whole new museum campus. Yes, we have one downtown, but this is becoming a whole new museum campus.
Yes, and we are proud of our South Side.
As we all should be. And this is adding a new aspect to it here. What's the price tag on this project? Because it sounds like you all are doing a whole lot.
Yes, the project price tag is around $22 million, and we were so grateful to receive a very significant gift from the Richard H. Driehaus Foundation.
In doing so, I'm sure that you all kind of thought through, like, okay, we want to add this, we want to add that, keep this. Did you all have an idea of like how long this is going to take to do these different things, both preserving and adding?
Yes, we actually have a schedule. We went through that schedule with our architects and also our construction experts, and hopefully we will be done. We have a target date of fall of 2027.
Fall of 2027. I'm sure that's going to be here before we know it. Things go quickly.
Yes, and we're very excited.
What are more of the long-term plans? I mean, this obviously is the headline for today, but what are some other things that you all have already said we want to do next?
We have an incredible space plan that actually encompasses all four corners of our space. We want to create free entry spaces and places where people can convene and have, conversations and just explore Jackson Park, the lagoon, our east side with our smart park, as well as our learning and community center that we will be developing on our west pavilion side. And we also want to create an ADA accessible entry to our north side of our building and create free spaces where people can enjoy outdoor exhibits, etc. So we have big plans. As Daniel Burnham says, make no small plans, and we have not made any small plans.
That's so awesome. Are there any things that like, I mean, clearly we're dealing with something so historical, but are there some things that you all have found out happened out there on the South Lawn or in the South Portico that, that most people don't know of?
Well, when the building in 1893, visitors actually traveled via gondolas to the South Portico, and then they were dropped off at the sidewalks and to come into the building. That was really beautiful. At some point, I'm sure we'd like to create gondola experiences on the lagoon.
Yes, that would be awesome. I can see it already.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful how they came fully dressed and they got out of their gondolas and then they arrived at the building and they were able to enter the building.
I can already see like the cherry blossoms and the lagoon. Yes, I see it. I see the vision. I look forward to seeing all of it come to fruition or come back to life, really. The whole museum campus, but really specifically this great addition there. I mean, what made you all say the South Portico, we've got to bring it back?
One of the things, I've been here 5.5 years, and my first year I started during COVID. So I'm like, how am I going to get to understand and know what the community needs are? So I took to Zoom. And so my first year I had over 1,000 meetings with people, and I heard it over and over again. We'd like to have access to the south side of your building because that's an opening to Jackson Park.
Yeah.
And it was from visitor feedback.
Awesome. That makes it even better that it came from the public, that people were like, this is what we want, and you all are meeting what they've asked for directly. Thank you so much. I was out there at the Griffin MSI recently. Beautiful, beautiful, wonderful exhibits, all of the good things. And so thank you for continuing to just drive the bar level up. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you. There's more to come, so keep coming.
Will do. Take care.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Wonderful speaking with her. And yes, I mean, can't you just see it? Like we do so many live shots over there when the cherry blossoms are in bloom. But opening up that south portico really opens up more opportunities, and so it's gonna be really cool. There's so many cool things happening here around Chicagoland. So it's gonna be awesome to see all of that come to fruition. Like she said, fall of 2027. That will be here before we know it. Let's take a 2-minute break before we have our conversation about tornadoes in this area that have been frequenting our area so much so that we're leading the way in the country. Okay, welcome back, everyone. 2:15, and boy, oh boy, have we been through it in terms of our weather over the last several weeks and, quite honestly, a couple months. April was super active in our area. We had several tornadoes, lots of severe weather, and we took a breath, it seemed, for a bit in May, but June has really been rocking, and you just have to wonder what is really going on out there, that Illinois right now has seen more tornadoes this year than any other state since 2015. Wow. We have Dr. Victor Gensini, who is a professor in the Department of Earth, Atmosphere, and Environment there at Northern Illinois University, who's joining us yet again. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you coming back.
I'm glad to be back, Anita. Good to see you.
If I'm not mistaken, the last time I spoke to you, it was about hail in April, right?
Hail in March, very close.
March,
We
okay.
had weather that I'm not even sure how you keep track of everything.
You know what? I'm not sure either, but when your face popped up, I was like, that's right. I think I talk to him about hail. What do you think is happening that we, years ago we would talk about these things for like Oklahoma, for Texas, and now Illinois is leading the way.
Yeah, again, last time we spoke, it was March, after the March 10th event across the area. Listeners and viewers might remember that particular event produced 6.6-inch diameter hail near Kankakee, and unfortunately also spawned some tornadoes, one of which was fatal. Lots and lots of hail in the Chicago suburbs that day as well, too. We estimate that day alone was over $1 billion in damage just in Illinois. So a very, very significant event. April was also very active. Lots of tornadoes downstate in April. So kind of south of Interstate 80. No fatalities in April. And then May was kind of a lull, as you mentioned. And now, wow, June has been remarkable. Unfortunately, on Father's Day, we had 2 tornado fatalities in Jefferson County. A lot of that activity also displaced downstate. The count as of this morning across Illinois is 200 tornadoes. Just to put that into context for folks, Illinois averages about 50 tornadoes a year. So we're about 4 times what we would typically expect for a year, and we're only halfway done, right? We're only getting through June here. So we still have more storm season to go, and we will likely add to those totals. We certainly have already broken the Illinois record for most tornadoes in a given year, and we're on pace to potentially set the record for any state for total number of tornadoes. To answer your question about why, a lot of it is unfortunately just really bad luck. The atmospheric conditions that produce these large hailstorms and obviously the tornadoes that we've been experiencing, we've been really ground zero here this year. A lot of those ingredients have been setting up nearly every other day. Maybe once a week we get one of these big severe weather outbreaks that cause significant tornadoes. And we can't just point to one specific thing and say, oh, it's this, or it's climate, or it's this. This year has been some really bad luck in terms of where these patterns have been setting up. That said, if you look at the long-term trend of tornadoes over the last 30 years, and I think we've talked about this before, that has been increasing in Illinois, in Indiana, and portions of the Midwest. We've seen those tornado counts every year climb a little bit higher. Now, obviously, this year is a big anomaly, a big bump upward. So this continues that long-term trend that we've been watching over the last 30 to 40 years of more tornadoes in the Midwest and kind of less out in Tornado Alley of the Great Plains. So this year certainly fits that bill, but you're absolutely right. It's been quite unprecedented here in terms of severe weather in 2026, and we're not done yet.
We are not done yet. I mean, Sunday was just the official start of summer, so what do you think the outlook is at this point? What do you think we're in for? Is it a one-to-one comparison, speaking of like an outlook for tornado season like it is, or severe weather season for us, versus say when there's like a hurricane outlook, and they're like, oh, it's going to be a very active season of hurricane, that kind of thing, and the numbers, the names, all of those things. Is it the same for tornadoes?
It's certainly the same. It's in the same spirit. Tornadoes are a little bit more difficult because tornadoes are much smaller than hurricanes, and they don't last as long, right? When we're talking about hurricanes, we can generally see them coming across the Atlantic. If we're talking about an East Coast landfall and we're tracking them for several days. That's not the case with tornadoes, right? Where we're typically talking about, when and where in these things lasting minutes, not hours or days. So tornadoes in that regard are much more difficult to sort of predict. But if you look out here into the short term over the next couple of weeks and just kind of look at the overall weather patterns, it does look stormier than normal. And the long-term outlook as we go into winter is for a very strong El Nino, which will have implications for our weather in the winter season here, as we move into that, those can have implications for United States tornado counts, and also tornado counts in the Midwest. And so we'll see how that plays out as well too. But if you're just kind of pointing at one specific thing, wanting to know why things have been so active in Illinois, it's just unfortunately, a lot of bad luck this year.
What do you think are some things that we still don't fully understand about tornadoes in 2026?
Well, there's still some outstanding science questions as to exactly what conditions are most favorable for producing tornadoes. And so there's still a lot of observational field campaigns going on in research where basically researchers and storm chasers are trying to get close to these storms and release weather instruments and balloons to try to take measurements near these storms, so that in the future, when we see those conditions or better understand those conditions, we can issue better watches and warnings for these types of events. Look, we've had 200 tornadoes in Illinois. We've only had 3 fatalities. That says a lot about how good our forecasts are. We see these things coming sometimes 4, 5, 6, in some cases a couple of weeks in advance. We can see these really big weather systems coming, and we get alerts out, right, for the public, and they take action and they make sure that they know where they're going to be during that particular day. And so for the most part, I think we're doing a really good job getting the word out. I think maybe what has happened this year is a lot of people have gotten storm anxiety, rightfully so. Right? Could you imagine the number of tornadoes that we've had? People are really kind of clinging. Every time there's a watch or a warning, they're really clenching their fists because there's a significant amount of anxiety. And I would tell people to, the best way to combat that is to have a plan and be prepared and make sure that you know what to do when a watch or a warning is issued for your location.
Yeah. In the Great Plains, as you described, Oklahoma, Texas, a lot of people, especially let's say Oklahoma, I remember when I was working there, so many people have, tornado shelters. So many people have invested in ways to get underground. You don't see that here in this part of the country. And I would wonder if there will be a shift because we are seeing so many more here, if in time we will start to see more buildings built differently, or, something sold over the counter or that's built to help people withstand tornadoes.
Well, there are certainly companies out there that do manufacture tornado shelters. I think it is definitely regionally dependent across the U.S. You certainly see areas where there are a lot more tornado shelters available, and that might partly be because of the height of the water table, where you don't have a lot of basements prevalent in homes. So you have community tornado shelters. Of course, you still have to get to that tornado shelter, so you still need enough lead time when that warning is issued to get there. But we see this specific thing, Anita, every single year, and this year too, I'm looking at the stats over here on my screen. We've had 15 tornado fatalities this year. 12 of them have been within mobile homes, what we call pre-manufactured housing, right? Yeah. It is those types of structures that we know you do not want to be in when a tornado strikes. It doesn't matter if it's EF0, the weakest of all tornadoes, or the strongest. When you're in a mobile manufactured home, you are very likely to become either injured or fatally injured when a tornado strikes. And so we stress over and over and over again that if you're in that type of structure, you absolutely need a way to receive weather watch and warning information so that you can take action to keep yourself and your family safe. This is no different than years of past, where majority of the tornado fatalities that we see come from individuals that are inside of those structures when tornadoes are spotted and then ultimately impact a community.
You are so right, unfortunately. Thank you so much for your time today. It's really remarkable to continue to see this, and you would think there's no turning around at this point.
Yeah, we're only halfway through the storm season, so we have still a lot way to go.
Thank you. We'll be calling back on you, I'm sure. All right, everyone. 2:26. Before I let you go for the break, let's talk about a couple of the stories that are trending online on our website, fox32chicago.com. So we've had this story over the last several days that we've been getting more and more information on. The man who is accused of killing his wife hours after their 2012 wedding celebration, and he's now been returned here into U.S. custody. There was an extradition process. I mean, this was like hours after they had just had this beautiful ceremony. You know, you think about how much time you put into putting a wedding, to planning a wedding, and then within hours, his wife is dead, and he had made some phone calls, we're learning now, to people close to them saying they had had an argument, that she had been hurt in the confrontation, although he didn't say that she died. But now we're learning more information that, you know, even the location where her body was found, that she had been killed in another location, and the body was moved to a bathtub to look like something happened there. And so investigators say forensic evidence and witness statements have now led to prosecutors alleging Arnaldo Jimenez stabbed his 26-year-old wife to death, left her body in their Burbank apartment, and then fled the country. And again, he was, apprehended in Mexico, then the extradition process, now back here to Cook County, where he's going to go through this legal system now. But we have all of the background here, especially for the true crime lovers out there. This is quite the story here. It also says to people, if you've had something happen in your family or to someone that you love, never give up on hope that the person who could be behind it will be found at some point in time, because we're in 2026 and this dates back to 2012. So I'm sure there were many family members who waited, longed for the moment when what's happening right now would happen. And finally, he is back here in the U.S., and now they go through the legal system with these charges, first-degree murder here. And so, again, we have the background, the new details that we've just learned. He had a status hearing yesterday. The case is expected to move forward, as I said, in Cook County Court. And he's in federal custody at that, but Cook County Court. So that's one of the stories that's trending right now. Let's see, another one. This doesn't get much better, but it is trending, so I'm going to tell you. This is a Chicago kitten killer. Wicker Park man sentenced to 4.5 years for torturing and killing kittens. His name is Thomas Martell, and he's pleaded guilty to animal torture and aggravated cruelty to animals. And this is according to the Cook County State's attorney. Prosecutors in the Chicago police say that he drowned, squeezed 2 cats to death. I mean, this is heavy stuff here, so I'm not going to read all of the rest to you, should you choose. It is on our website. 3, after a woman reported animal cruelty. She had suspected animal cruelty, and then all of these things started to come out. They are still waiting on some more details here, but there's quite a bit for you to read already. And again, so should you choose to get into the details, they are there on our website. They haven't disclosed how he knew the woman that made the complaint or anything like that, but more details are on our website. One more, and then I'm going to take you to break here. Another one that's on our website right now. Let me go back and let's see here. The Chicago rapper who's now been charged. Now, do you remember, I believe this was Memorial Day weekend, not of this year, but last year, if I'm not mistaken, where in River North, there was a shooting that took place outside of an event. That business ended up closing actually right after that, and the business had not even been open that long. There was a party held there, shooting that took place, several people who were shot that night, and now the rapper who was a hosting that event has been charged with aggravated unlawful use of a weapon for something separate: resisting arrest, transporting alcohol, open alcohol, driving with an obstructed windshield. This all happened on the southwest side where this went down. The charges come, about a year after this rapper Mellow Bucks was publicly mourning a lot of victims of the mass shooting that took place at the River North. It was an album release party. I didn't remember that part, but yeah, it was an album release party. 4 people were killed there, 14 others that were injured that night. So here we are, a little bit more than a year later, and she has a whole new slew of problems here that she is facing, and charges that she is facing. I don't believe she faced charges for that incident, but charges for this incident now. She's remaining in custody until, at the very least, the initial court hearing. So a few of the things that are on our website that people are clicking on. If you want to go, again, it's fox32chicago.com. Let's take a quick 2-minute break before we talk about Prime Day. Welcome back, everyone. Just about 2:35 right now. Are you ready for Amazon Prime Day? That always gets me, that it's no longer just one day, but we still say Amazon Prime Day, even though it's like 4 days now. Let's go ahead and bring in Russell Hawley from CNET, the Director of Shopping Content, so we can help you prepare. Thank you so much for being here with us. Uh-oh, I think you're muted. It might be on your end.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful having you here. Does that get you too, that we're now, I mean, we still say Amazon Prime Day, but we keep extending it and then it's multiple times a year?
Yeah, we're up to 4 of these a year, and the one that we had in the spring was a full week long. This one's only 4 days, though, so I guess we're getting off easy.
So much money that's expected to be spent. So how can we best prepare ourselves?
I think the best thing you can do is understand first what exactly is going to be available for this version of Prime Day. You know, in the past, there's been kind of a seasonal aspect to these. So, you know, big electronic purchases, like if you're planning on replacing a television, you know, the older recommendation would have been to wait for something like Black Friday, where we would see a lot of those prices. But even though we're on the kind of the start of the summer here, I think thanks to the World Cup, we're seeing a lot of TV discounts from LG and Hisense and a few other places. ton of outdoor equipment. If you're someone who likes to have a fully furnished backyard with things like wireless speakers or great big lawn chairs, not just at Amazon, but you'll also find great versions of this at Walmart and Best Buy as well.
Okay, now how do you know what things and I've got so many questions to ask you, but let's say even the fact that, all right, we have Amazon Prime Day this week, but July 4th is coming up, and you got to know some deals are coming up for the 4th of July weekend, especially in America's 250th. So, like, buy now or wait?
It's a great question. I know that in the past, Amazon has actually waited until after the 4th of July to run this particular event. Last year, Prime Day didn't start until July 7th. They've moved it up this year, I think, so that it doesn't compete with America 250, but that's just my speculation. That's not something that Amazon has come out and said. To answer the question, though, my favorite recommendation to anybody who wants to make sure that they're actually getting a decent price on something, there is an online tool that anybody can use that is free. It is a very silly name, though. It is called Camel. It's something that my team uses on a regular basis. You can take any Amazon product link and put it in this website, and it will give you the price history for that product for the last year. Ooh. So if somebody says this is the lowest price on this thing, then you can actually do that quick little bit of work and make sure that you're actually getting the best price on something before you buy it.
Aha. So this is what you all mean when you say how to shop like a pro, because that sounds like a pro tip.
That's exactly right. This is a tool. There are several like it that we use on a regular basis to make sure that we're keeping these companies honest.
And do you find that, Prime Days really do offer up some of the best deals on items? Because I was saying this in another conversation, like, and you even mentioned Black Friday, that's how we used to approach Black Friday, that Black Friday would offer the best deals of the year, and now it's anything but.
It's true. I feel like more and more as these shopping events happen, a lot of my team's work ends up being filtering through stuff that was maybe $20 cheaper the day before, and then it increased by $10, and then it decreased by $25, so that they can say that it's a deeper discount than it really is. That is not everything, however. We spend a lot of time going through and validating a lot of the things that are on sale, not just at Amazon, but Walmart and Best Buy and a lot of the others. And there are things that are available that are really reasonably priced discounts. My personal favorite one is the Ninja Slushie machine. It allows me to make slushies on these hotter days that we're getting. Right now, that is $200, and that is the lowest price that I have ever seen for it.
My Ninja smoothie machine is probably collecting dust. At one point in time, though, I was using it a whole lot.
It's never too late to get back into the habit.
I'm like, yeah, I haven't used that thing in a long time. So what do you think in terms of like the July or the June Prime Day versus is it October when we have another Prime Day?
Yeah, that's right. The next one should be in October.
Okay, yeah. Is there something to like even a better time of the year for better deals?
I think it's very seasonal. I think a lot of what you're going to see this time of year, outdoor products that are going to be on sale for now, things like grills at Home Depot, hiking equipment at REI. These are sales that end up running in kind of competition with Amazon, but they all have that kind of outdoor focus. And those are the kind of things that you're not going to see in October. The temperatures will have come down by then. Folks will be interested in heating equipment, air purifiers, and things like that as their homes get, kind of sealed up for the year. So those are the kind of seasonal differences. What I will say is a little different about this particular Prime Day is there's an increase in discounts on kind of home items, things that you wouldn't normally see on a Prime Day. So things like AA batteries, back to school supplies, like those kind of things are on discounts now that we don't normally see for this time of year, either because it's waiting until closer to that back to school season, or it's something that you would see in the spring. But we're seeing a lot of that stuff available right now. And usually see battery prices in particular go up as we get closer to the end of the year. So if that's the kind of thing you are likely to stock up on, I would recommend taking a look at that this week.
Very interesting. Okay. All right. That's a great tip as well. And let's see, is there any other way of going about things that you see maybe that people are doing that people typically get wrong for Amazon Prime Days that you could kind of help us avoid?
Sure. So Amazon is going to put what it calls its most popular products on its homepage. Those are the ones that I would probably consider avoiding. Those are unlikely to be the ones at the best discounts. However, once you click through to that Prime Day button, there is a set of tabs that you can go through to kind of filter some of those search results. My very favorite one to keep an eye out for is all the way to the right-hand side. It is labeled outlet deals. Those are things that there aren't, a whole warehouse full of those things. There are probably not a ton of them left, either because the newest version is about to come out, or because a supply difference or something like that. But those prices often end up being really significantly discounted.
Very interesting. You have put us on to something new. All right, Russell, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And then, because people are clicking so much online and looking for all of these deals, it's always an easy way for scammers to get us. So maybe speak to avoiding scams too before I let you go.
Sure. Anytime you're going to keep an eye on scams like that, any product that is going to be on sale, there's going to be a way to verify the price of that product. So, I told you about Camel earlier. If somebody's reaching out to you on especially something like Facebook Messenger and they're promising a deeper discount, always check on your own first. All of this stuff can be verified, through price tracker things. Amazon also has an AI tool now that allows you to ask it basic questions like, is this actually the deepest discount on this thing? And most of the time it will steer you in the right direction.
Love it. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise from CNET. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, take care. Let's get in a 2-minute break, everyone, before our next conversation about the White Sox getting out in the community this week. Welcome back, everyone. 2:45, and so happy to be able to speak with Christine O'Reilly, Vice President of Community Relations at the Chicago White Sox and Executive Director for Chicago White Sox Charities, about White Sox Serve Week. Great having you back on the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and this is such a special week for us, Sox Serve Week.
It really is. You all have been doing this for, 15 years at least?
Yes, we started in 2009, and so, when you got a thing that ain't broke, you just keep rolling it out again, so.
Definitely not broken. In fact, you all are fixing a lot of spirits in
you.
what you're doing this week. Walk us through the week as it's planned.
Sure, sure. So Sock Serve Week is an annual effort where we can really showcase our community engagement and our commitment to really being partners for and with the community, and also to raise funds for Chicago White Sox charities. So it's just a highlight week. We started yesterday with some of our players' wives and players at the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab on their pediatric floor. We brought rainbow cone ice cream and all sorts of treats, and Southpaw was there. So it was just a day full of fun. Today, we just wrapped up on the field an amazing baseball game for differently abled athletes from the American League of Joliet. Tonight is White Sox Charities Day, so tune in to our broadcast a little bit later, and there's all sorts of opportunities where fans can support White Sox charities and get really cool swag. Tomorrow, we're welcoming 45 of our grantees who have received financial support from White Sox charities. They'll be here for an on-field recognition. Thursday, we're going to the Greater Grand Boulevard community to do a mosaic with Green Star Movement and a neighborhood beautification project. Friday, we're doing an ultimate wish for a little girl with cancer. Saturday is another volunteer corps event. So again, something every day that really shows our really unwavering commitment to making Chicago a better place to live, work, and play.
Mm-hmm. And what is the response? I feel like doing community engagement, community service adds such a different level of connection.
It really is, and you're so right. I mean, we just really look at it as an opportunity, not just a responsibility to be champions for our community. And we're so lucky that we have a clubhouse manager and Will Venable and all our players who are so supportive. But it's really important that our players are seen, off the field, and really stepping up to join with us shoulder to shoulder and just really supporting the community and our fan base and those in need. Professional sports organization pulls a lot out of the city. And so we really look at it as an opportunity for us to give back and lift people up and do it in some really fun ways.
Mm-hmm. Lots of fun ways. I don't feel like you can ever take these opportunities and it not change you as well. Do you hear that from the players when they have gone out for these experiences?
Absolutely. We had a couple of our guys yesterday at Shirley Ryan Ability Lab, and we came back to the ballpark and they were on the field during batting practice, and they're like, "Thank you for having us there. It was so cool." So they're thanking us, even though they gave us time during the day to come out. Today we had Chase Mydroth and Miguel Vargas and Sam Antonacci, who just hit the walk-off hit last night and came back early this morning to spend some time with the kids from the American League of Joliet. And, they just said, this is so special and this is what it's all about. And we get to play this game, and, our lives are easier, and we're professional baseball players, but it's really important to just be here and have fun with the kids. So, we hear that from them all the time, and we know how lucky we are to have such a supportive clubhouse.
Yeah, and I'm sure the mood is different when you are coming off of a walk off, or the season that we are in. That's got to add to the excitement on both levels when they're going out.
It sure does. It sure does. I mean, there's, like I said, we want to be champions on the field, and it's been so fun this year. But just as important as like I said, we want to be champions for the community. But it was really fun today when we were kind of announcing the welcome for the event that we just said, from the first place Chicago White Sox, welcome to Rate Field. It just sounds good to be able to say it.
It's like
feels good.
Want to do a Groundhog Day and say it over and over and over again.
Yeah, so again, we encourage fans to tune in if they can. Tonight, whitesox.com/charities day. There's really cool opportunities to receive autographed items and cool specially designed t-shirts. People can go to whitesox.com and sign up for our volunteer corps and join us in service projects that we do all across the year. We love to invite the fans to serve right alongside with us, and we have so many opportunities for them to do that.
That's super cool. Maybe talk a little bit more about that volunteer corps. What do people participate in? What does it look like if you sign up?
Yeah, so the Volunteer Corps, we established that in 2009. So, again, a tribute to our fans and a testament to our fans that they've been serving with us. So, every month, we have a number of volunteer opportunities. So, it might be a beautification project at a park or doing some work inside of a school. On Thursday, we have 100 plus of our Volunteer Corps members. We're partnering with Green Star Movement. And we're going to be, as I said, in Greater Grand Crossing, and we're going to be doing a mosaic tile. So it's a neighborhood beautification project. We do a lot with the Greater Chicago Food Depository. So we just ask fans to go to whitesox.com/volunteer, and they can sign up for our volunteer corps, and they'll receive monthly updates with opportunities to register to serve alongside of us.
Awesome. And is it any age?
It depends on the project. You know, some of our partners that we do service with need to restrict it to older kids or adults only, but we do look for those opportunities where people can come out and serve as a family.
And I love the fact that you all include the players' families as well. Like, it's not just the player themselves, but they even get to do this as a family.
You know, it's amazing. We did an event a couple weeks ago. Some of our players' wives wanted to go to a senior building here in our home Bridgeport community to just play bingo and share stories with the seniors. It was the wives' idea. And sure enough, a couple of the players came along, and one of them brought their little guy who was like, you know, he was the hit of the party running around, and all the seniors got to have some fun watching him run around. Yesterday at Shirley Ryan, again, it was an initiative that the players' wives and girlfriends were involved in, but some of the players came too. So I think it just speaks to, I think, our clubhouse and how our players are just they realize that the game is bigger than themselves. And we're, like I said, we just think we have the best team. We have the best team in the standings in our division right now, and we have the best team for supporting our community as well.
Yeah, you definitely have something special going on over there right now, and we love to see it. Well, I don't know if the Cubs like to see it, but you know.
Hey, let us be your American League team. You could be a Cub fan and still like us as an American League team.
There you go. There you go. How do you continue to build on this? I mean, from 2009, like what was it like in the beginning, and to get to this level, and how do you continue to grow it?
You know, I think in the beginning we were like, do you think we can fill 5 days? Do you think we can do something every day? And now it's like, oh my gosh, we need like a Sock Serve month because we have so many great ideas and so many organizations that we want to support. I will say that our ability to sustain something like Sock Serve Week, our volunteer corps, is really that we ride on the shoulders of our fans. And they are so connected to the White Sox and so passionate on and off the field to the team. And so we're just grateful. They serve with us. They donate to White Sox charities, which allows us to support our grant giving and all the charitable and philanthropic work that we do. So it's just this big, wonderful White Sox community.
It is beautiful for sure to see you all giving back in such a special way, and that you have been for so long. Thank you for what you all do in the community. Thank you for the boost to everyone's happiness in seeing what's going on the field as well right now. And we certainly hope that the success on and off the field continues.
Well, thank you. Thank you for helping us tell our story.
Anytime. Happy to do it. Take care.
Bye now.
All right. Great speaking with them, and again, similar to what we were saying, today is a big sports day. I mean, we're in a sports town, right? I mean, we have FIFA on the air right now. We're online, and so we're in the midst of like football madness. We're talking about the Bears saga with the stadium that continues. In just a short while, we're going to talk about the Bulls, their quest to revamp their team. We'll talk with Chris Kay in the 3 o'clock hour about that. And we're in the midst of baseball season, and our teams are not just great. And I say teams, yes, because I cheer for both. I cheer for both. I want them to both do all of the things. And so it's great to see them not just focusing. Of course, we want to see them doing fantastic when it comes to the actual sport. But, changing lives really, because they have a unique opportunity as professional athletes and a professional team, a clubhouse, an organization, to change lives in a very different way than most people have. And so it's great to be able to see, in this case, the White Sox going over to spend time at the Shirley Ryan Ability Lab, to see them going to the Miracle League, to see them going over to Greater Grand Crossings and just spending over some time beautifying the area. So many other things. This ultimate wish that's going to be happening on Friday. It's a beautiful thing, and they're creating lasting memories for so many other people. It's really great, and the fact that their families even get to be a part of it too is a wonderful thing as well. So great catching up with Christine. She's always doing wonderful things with the Sox, and we'll look forward to more great stories from them as the week goes on. 5 days that they are out in the community, but that's the Sox Serve week. They are always doing wonderful things throughout the year. Let's take a 2-minute break, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about what is to come in this 3 o'clock hour that we are very rapidly approaching. Everyone, 3 o'clock on the dot. It's time for our final hour here of Chicago Live for the day. Some great conversations still to come in this hour. If you are just joining us now, we start at 1 o'clock, but anytime you join, there's some fun conversations to be had. And so right around 3:45, before we get you over to the 4 o'clock news, we're going to be talking, we've talked a lot about history, historical moments. We're in a very interesting shouldn't say interesting, but intriguing time in our nation's history. We've got the 250th for America, and of course Route 66 that's celebrating their centennial. So much that's going on in terms of history. We were even speaking with the Griffin MSI about an area, their South Portico, that they are now getting ready to open back up. I think the fall of 2027 is when they will debut re-debut. That South Portico that dates back to the 1800s. So much that's going on right now. And so around 3:45, we're going to talk about Gensler and their 100 years in Chicago. They are celebrating a century, and looking ahead now to many more things to come. That is, a futuristic way of looking at things for them, going back to Burnham's plan and looking forward to what is to come in a technological age. Should be a very interesting conversation. Right around 3:30, as usual, we'll have JD Rudd come up and get us up to date on our weather. If you weren't with us in our 2 o'clock hour, my goodness, we talked to a climatologist from Northern Illinois University who talked about the fact that we are leading the nation in tornadoes. Illinois leading the nation in tornadoes, and what we expect, because we're just in the early part of the season. We had that conversation. I'm sure we'll be posting that online. Shortly, we'll also have a conversation about fertility rates in the country and some new information that's actually coming from another country that's showing they're having some promising signs of different policies that are actually changing a trend around. I didn't want to give away the full story. So they have some policies that are showing promise in that particular nation, that are boosting their fertility rates. And so we look forward to that conversation as well. But we're going to kick things off in this hour with our very own Sloan Salerno, 5 p.m. producer, to let us know what is to come in our evening broadcast. Hey, Sloan.
Hi, Anita. So yeah, we have a tough one to start. Leslie is at Lake Michigan. She's near Michigan City, which is where a boy went missing yesterday after going into the water. And so it happened at Washington Park Beach last night. And the search is still going on. So she's going to tell us the latest on those efforts. And she's also going to be talking about water safety because, as it starts getting warmer out and, the beach is open, people are out there. It's always good to have, a reminder of, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. What do the warnings mean? When should you get in the water? Things like that.
What's the age of the child?
They have not said yet.
Well, it's just
said a boy, a child.
Yeah, I mean, every year, every season, we hear about these things, and you would hope that we didn't have, I think a lot of people, when you hear warnings or hear, different advice, it can seem mundane, and it's easy to tune out. Because it seems so simple, and then we have a tragedy that happens in our area, and so I hope that people will definitely be listening to Leslie and her afternoon report.
Yeah, and it's not, just children that need to be reminded, or parents. Every year we have stories of experienced swimmers who get into Lake Michigan not, knowing how dangerous rip currents and things like that can be, and so it's always a good reminder for everyone.
So very true.
And then Joni is covering this event. It's a gun violence awareness event that's geared toward kids. So it's for kids 5 to 18 who have been affected by gun violence. So there's going to be food, drinks there, and they're also, passing on information about programs and services. And then they're going to have some self-care activities and arts and crafts for kids to do and, learn about coping mechanisms and how they can build a community with other people who have faced, similar experiences in life as them. And so that's also, coming on off the heels of a very violent weekend in Chicago. And there's been this push for a new gun violence reduction department. And so the mayor was asked about that today. And so we'll go into that too. He said he's still looking it over. He wants to do a deeper dive into it. And then he's going to comment on it later this week. Yeah. But he said, I'm always for, supporting anything that would help, reduce gun violence in the city.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so much of it. And I think it's hard to fully grasp the full impacts of gun violence. I still remember a man doing an interview. It will stay with me probably for the rest of my life. I still remember a man when I first moved here doing an interview, and he talked about the fact that you never get a chance to fully heal, that it's like having a scab that never fully heals. I mean, you can even put a Band-Aid on it, but it's going to get ripped off very quickly. And you imagine, a child, you said this is 5 to 18, a child or a young adult who is in that process of like trying to heal from something before something else happens, and what that does to their psyche. And even like for teachers in school, the fact that you're trying to teach math when a child is sitting in your class having just had somebody in their family that was taken from them in such a tragic way. I mean, those types of things are so vast in terms of the effects, the impacts of gun violence on our society, on our communities, especially here in the city of Chicago. Yeah, I mean, the more events like that, the better. But it's like a beautiful thing that we can have events like that will provide resources to people who need them, for sure. And it's also a heartbreaking thing that we even need these things for children 5 to 18 who are struggling in such a great way from something that is so prevalent in our communities.
Yeah, and it is, like you said, a beautiful and a sad thing, because it's nice that they know that they're not alone and there are other people in Chicago, their age, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older, who can relate to what they've been going through, and maybe, some other kids in class just can't understand what it is. And so it is nice in that aspect to be connected with those people who can, understand what you're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. And then Brett, Bears. So Springfield is reportedly working with the Bears again on special legislation. They're trying to draft special legislation that would get the team to stay in Illinois at the Arlington Heights site. And so the report is saying that the Bears are actually involved in this, and they're letting them know what we want in the legislation. And then their, lawmakers are trying, they don't want to call a special session if they don't have the votes to pass it. And so it's just an update on that. And then obviously earlier we talked about McCook is also trying to get the Bears to move there. The mayor kind of knows it's a long shot, but they want to be considered, even though, how many more places could get involved and be on the Bears' radar. And then Johnson also talked about the Bears today, saying Chicago is still, the only site. So there's just, it seems like it's never ending.
Well, this is what happens when you leave the door cracked, right? I mean, every statement that we have had leaves the possibility for something else. And so I can't fault anybody who's like, well, as long as the door's not closed, I'm gonna slide my proposal through.
Yeah, why not? Might as well. Like, the Bears have left, it seems like they've left it open to that, like you said, because, we're moving forward with Hammond, but they still haven't set a site, haven't said what that means. Clearly, they're still working with lawmakers in Springfield to work on, something. They still own the Arlington Heights site. And so, yeah, it feels, until they have a concrete plan, I feel like we're just going to keep hearing about these other places who are begging the Bears to come there.
It feels like madness, and I think because it is. But I found myself even before today when McCook, unveiled their proposal. I found myself just a couple of days ago like, are we still in late spring, early summer? I mean, I guess we're technically now in early summer. I mean, we've kind of felt like summer, but now we're technically in early summer as of Sunday. So we're still, are we still on their timeline? Is this still a part of the late spring, early? I guess so.
Yeah, I know. It feels like we're never going to stop talking about it until the stadium is up and running. And then Tia has an update for us. So she did a story last month on Birth Center of Chicago. It abruptly closed down. It was end of May. And at that point, the employees were saying they haven't been paid in a month. And now, flash forward to a month after that, they're still saying they haven't gotten paid everything that they're due. And so she's checking back in with them, checking back in with the company that owns Birth Center Chicago, what's going on, what's happening. So she'll have an update for us on that.
We know she'll keep pressing for answers.
Oh, yeah. And then we do have a Zoom on at 5. So In Maryville on Friday, they're doing a cleanup effort and they need special volunteers. So they're asking for really specific. So they want people who can operate heavy machinery, chainsaws. They want tree service professionals, contractors, truck and trailer owners, and just general labor volunteers. And so a very specific set, it could take weeks for them to clean everything up. And, we could get more storms. I know you guys talked about the tornado count. Indiana has already in June alone had 49 tornadoes. That's the most they've ever had in June.
Wow.
And then within the year, they've had 69. And then let me think. 2011, they had 72. So they're approaching the record already, and it's June.
Wow. Yeah. They've been through quite a bit. And I know that when you put the ask out, that people will show up. I'm sure they will have all of the people, and maybe even more than they anticipated, who will be able to come out there and volunteer. Folks who have that, either the ability to handle that type of equipment, or those who have that equipment who can bring it there to be of service to them. They've got a lot of work to do down there.
Yeah, definitely. And then we'll do one across America story. So in Texas, this small town, a semi-truck was carrying hundreds of beehives, and it tipped over and it spilled millions of bees into the area.
No.
And so people had to shelter in place who lived by, and they were able to get beekeepers to come in and, other volunteers to help. And, they were trying to salvage the hives because they do transport bees often for, pollination reasons. But so they're trying to save the bees and, not have literally millions of bees just flying around this Texas town.
Oh my goodness. I'm itching just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Now I wonder what they do in a situation like that. Like, what do they do?
I know that if you can find the queen of the hive, then the rest of the bees will usually follow. And so I assume what they did. They didn't share the specifics. And then obviously, they use that smoke that you've seen to make the bees sleepy. And so I'm sure it was I'm no beekeeper, but I'm sure it was a combination of those efforts.
Well, I'm sure those folks, it probably looks like something out of a movie with people trying to do all of that. And meanwhile, you're just trying to stay in your house or stay inside somewhere so that you don't have to deal with it. Okay, we look forward to seeing all of the shows, all of these things come together in the shows later. Thank you so much, Sloan.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. It's 3:13. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back with another discussion. We're getting into the fertility rates here in our country and what other country might be able to help us in what they're doing. Okay, welcome back, everyone. 316. And before we go a little deeper into studies and, societal types of things, can we talk about the Bulls for a few moments? It's NBA draft night, and we have Chris Kay, who's here with us, our very own Chris Kay. And what are your thoughts on who the Bulls will draft at 4 and 15?
Anita, it's really good to see you. It's really tough to tell right now just because it's so early in the day and things kind of shook up a little bit last night. Last night, the Bulls reportedly traded for Nick Claxton, who's a center from they used to be the New Jersey Nets, now the Brooklyn Nets. And Nick's a 27-year-old guy that's going to cost about $28 million next year, but the Bulls have a lot of money they can spend. So that's kind of where they're at, trying to find post players, trying to build a little bit of a team. And Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations Bryson Graham said when he was hired, this isn't going to be an overnight fix. We expect this to take a little bit of time. I think this is a move that kind of signals how much time they're going to take. And Nick is a good player. I think most would kind of look and say he may have lost a step or two just because he's been in the league for so long. I think he's been in the league like 5, 6, 7, 8 years or something like that within that back end range. But I think that then signals, hey, with that 15th pick, we don't really know what the Bulls are going to do. At number 4 overall, obviously it's going to be one of the top 4. There is Cameron Boozer from Duke. There is AJ Devansta from BYU. There's Darren Peterson from Kansas, and then there's Caleb Wilson from North Carolina. It's going to be one of those 4 at number 4 overall. That I don't think is any debate. People keep saying, well, the Bulls might trade it. They might go elsewhere. I think it's going to be one of those 4 at number 4. At 15, it really becomes an interesting discussion of what the Bulls might do.
It really does. And we had the great Horace Grant, who was here at the station earlier today. He says they need to get a big man.
Of course, Horace would say they need to get a big man because he was a big man himself. I think that's a really good point. But he has a really good point because the one thing the Bulls have been kind of, I don't want to even say like laughed at, but more so just poked and prodded a little bit is the last 2 years that they just had this glut of guards, just a lot of smaller and fast players that kind of fit this mold of let's shoot a lot of threes, let's play positionless a little bit, let's ask some of the big men to shoot as well, so we can just kind of get mismatches and kind of play 5 out in that way. And they could when they had Nikola Vucevic, and Vucevic was a really good player as a double machine for so long for the Bulls, for about like 5 years or so. But I think now when you start to build a team out, you really started to see teams that have some of the most success. Like for example, this past NBA Finals, we saw Karl Anthony Towns was a prized possession the New York Knicks went and got, and they traded a young stud they had in Julius Randle to get him. And it kind of was a really interesting trade at the time, thinking, oh, they traded Julius, who's an athletic 4, maybe can play a little bit of the 5, and Dante DiVincenzo, who was part of that Villanova friendship group that won a national championship at Villanova and was winning a lot of games in the NBA. But I think when you saw them trade for Karl Anthony Towns, it was a sign of, hey, you can't really miss a big man in the middle, and you got to hit on those kinds of guys. And I think right now getting Nick Claxton is one step towards that. But I think then when you say, hey, well, what's next? I think that's Caleb Wilson at 4, and then you can start thinking, what happens at 15? And I'd go by what Horace has to say. You can go out and get a big man like, hey, Chicago native Morez Johnson from Michigan's out there. It's a very interesting 2-way player, a guy that has a lot of energy, a guy that can play really hard and he can rebound really well on both ends of the floor. That's a 2-way player. The Bulls really kind of been missing for the last handful of years. That's not a guy that's going to drop 30 points a game. He's not going to dish 10 assists a game, but he's going to get you some rugged rebounds, and that's going to help you win games. And I think that's the kind of big man Horace wants to see. He was one of those guys when he was with the Bulls back in the day. I think he wants to see a little bit more of that edge in Chicago. And I think with Thiago Splitter, a guy that's 6'11" himself, played center in the NBA himself, that's a guy that we're going to start to see maybe this team take that shape a little bit of. We're going to get rebounds, we're going to play the post, and we're going to start to dominate there.
And you mentioned Julius Randle. He's on the move again. And I don't know if it's his on-court performance or if it's him as a person that has him on the move again.
It's a really interesting question. I think from the on-court perspective as well, I think the one thing that when the Timberwolves traded for him, they thought they were going to get this athletic big that would pair really well with guys like Anthony Edwards, a very athletic two guard that can shoot the lights out of the basketball. That's a star in this league.
Yeah.
Something the Bulls just haven't had. And I think in the years that in the 2 years since this past year and the year before, Julius became a little bit of a liability defensively. And I think he started to slow up a little bit. And you're starting to see the defensive side of the ball where Karl Anthony Towns excelled at, especially in the NBA Finals going up against Victor Wembanyama, where that dude is 7'5", he's way up there. And Karl Anthony Towns, being a 7-footer himself, still is able to play really well against him, defend him really well. And I think you're starting to see, well, if you're a center in this league and defense isn't your first priority, then it's going to be really tough for you to stick. And I think his offensive game speaks for itself. But I think in this instance, the Bulls got involved in this trade just because the Timberwolves wanted to shed a lot of that money that Julius Randle was getting paid, and they wanted to free up a lot of money. Oh, that's right, to pay Chicago native Ayo Dosunmu, who is reportedly getting a $112 million contract extension with the Minnesota Timberwolves, which will take into effect on July 6th when the new league year becomes official. That trade can go through, and all the trade exceptions created by that are going to go through as well.
Okay, one last question, and I've got to let you go. Keaton Wagler, where do you think he's going?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I think everybody has had the consensus that the draft is really going to start at number 5 overall, where after the top 4, it's going to be one of those 4 players I was talking about, the Boozers, the Petersons, the Wilsons. And I think the draft really then starts at 5. You could see Darius Acuff go to number 5, who is the Los Angeles Clippers. But I think that is honestly one of the best spots for him, is to put him with a team that's going to give him some time to build out his frame. The one thing that everyone likes about him is that he's got this spot up shooting ability, which is really unmatched in the draft. Is, I think, the best spot up shooter from 3-point range. And that's going to carry him. He's got to get a little bit bigger. He's got to work on the mid-range a little bit. I like hearing that as a fan of the old man game back in the 90s. But I think in this specific instance, Keaton Wagler is probably going to go to number 5 with the LA Clippers, where they give him a little bit of time to build out his frame, to get stronger. Although it wouldn't surprise me if they chose someone like Darius Acuff, who already has a little bit of that frame, a little bit of that size, but needs to get a little bit better defensively. But I think for all purposes, Keaton Wagler is going to be a top 5 pick. Maybe a team surprises and picks him in the top 3. Who knows? But I think that's just one of those things where we're going to find all that out tonight, 7 o'clock Central Time, when the NBA draft kicks off.
Had to make sure we ended our conversation with a little Illini. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. Exciting times, dreams coming true, all beautiful things. We appreciate you, Chris K.
Thank you so much. I love being on with you.
All right. We love having you here. Everybody give us 2 minutes before we get into our next discussion. right, welcome back, everyone. 326 right now. Let's take a look at how the stock market shaped up for the day now that we just closed, and you can see it's a mixed picture. It is a bit of a mixed picture here. So let's kind of walk through what we're seeing here. The broad market index fell today, 1.44%. The NASDAQ slid 2.21%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, as you're seeing here, ended down 45.87%, or excuse me, points, and that's about 0.09%. And as we kind of look through some of what's going on here, a lot of this has to do with like technology, Micron, SanDisk, Seagate Technology, but even further than that, Alphabet is continuing with some losing here, dropping 1%. Their shares tumbled also on Monday, 5%, amid concerns about high-profile AI talent departures at the company. So very interesting context there as to what we're seeing here. Obviously, there's always a lot of concern for what is taking place in the Middle East right now and the different messages that we're getting. Vice President J.D. Vance announced yesterday that Iran has agreed, or Tehran has agreed, that there will be inspectors that will come in to make sure there's no nuclear capability in the years to come. But there's been some disagreement as to whether that is actually what was actually agreed upon. And then when it comes to, again, going back here to the AI beneficiaries, it seems here, just looking at one, expert from Morgan Stanley, that there's a sell-off going on, and that it's captured, these are his words, momentum for traders, and when it happens, you're going to have sharp sell-offs like we're having. But he says he'd argue that it's healthy. So, sometimes we look at something and we're like, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But this expert is saying that actually it might be a healthy thing. Some of the sell-offs that we're seeing today that have led to, yes, not the best picture there on Wall Street at the end of the day, but a mixed picture, and maybe overall something that will work in our favor as the week goes on. We shall see. But it's 3:29 right now. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and I just heard the beep at the door, which means that our very own JD Rudd, I was just talking about JD Vance a moment ago, so JD Rudd has just walked in. We'll talk about the weather when we come back. right, welcome back. 3:31. JD Rudd is here, and it's a beautiful day here yet again.
2 in a row.
Man, if
We'll
we
take
could keep
this.
this run that we're on, that would be a phenomenal thing.
Yeah, if. That's a funny word. that's a real
Meaning
funny
it's
word.
not happening.
No, we can't. No matter what we have going on, for better or for worse, we just can't keep the string of things going. It always changes around here. Keeps me employed. I'm happy about that, and keeps us on our toes.
So tell us about how quickly things will change.
It's a gradual change. That's the thing. So it's going to get a little bit warmer over the next day or two. Not super hot, but just a little bit warmer than where we've been. We'll see a few chances for some thunderstorms come in, and then things will heat up. I mean, right now, look at the temperatures. Depending upon where you are, it's not bad at all.
No, I actually saw a lot of people in jackets yesterday evening.
Yeah, because once the sun starts to set, the temperatures really subside. And here's the reason why. So look at this map right here. 60s up against the lakefront, and then farther inland, upper 70s to right around 80. It's all because of the wind still coming in out of the north to the northeast. And because of that wind and the lake water temperatures being where they are, which is around 60 or so, it's cooling down the air. Normally by now those lake water temperatures are a little bit higher, but we haven't had a lot of sunshine overall the past week or two because of the rain and everything else like that. That's kind of tempered things. And some stronger wind is kind of what we call upwelling of the water. It's turned the water over a little bit, bringing some cooler water from the mid-levels of the lake, if you will, up to the surface. So those kind of things have happened, chilling down that initial surface water. So now the wind blows across the lake water and it keeps us on the cooler side.
Upwelling.
Yes, when you're pulling up that water from the bottom parts of the lake.
I love to learn something new every day.
I'm chock full of geeky words up here.
I like it. Come
what,
on.
What we need, though, here, I'll impress you with this one. We need here to get things changed around is more of a southerly flow. We need something more of a return wind out of the south and southwest. That usually brings in some warmer air from the central plains. We will get that late in the weekend into next week. Before we get there, though, let's talk about this. It's not impressive, but there is a severe weather outlook for tomorrow, mainly in Wisconsin. It does clip a couple of our northwesternmost areas. I bring this up because I have seen some computer forecast model data suggesting that maybe a stronger storm or two slips past that cheddar curtain, as Mike Kaplan would say, and works its way into our area. So we got to keep an eye on that, but I don't think we're in for big-time severe weather tomorrow. But there will be pockets of some rain and thunder at times on Wednesday. Aside from that, I do think temperatures will make it to 78, 80 in most cases, so better than where we've been the past day or two. But I see you giving me that look, Anita.
Well, I was glad that we didn't see the avocado from the last 2 weeks.
No avocado.
You know, I mean, so grateful for that.
But I think the question many folks are going is, okay, it's summertime. When is it going to warm up? When's it going to get?
You weren't going to get that question from me. I'm enjoying where we are.
But you speak for the masses, though, when you go, okay, when's it going to be full-on pool weather? When's it going to be lake weather? When's it going to be lounge by the beach weather?
Yeah.
Take a look at the 7-day forecast. I should have that queued up for you now. There it is.
It's on the way.
Yeah, so once we get into the weekend, there's a strong warm front trying to push in here Saturday into Sunday. Now, some of the computer forecast model data is suggesting that maybe there's some rain and thunder. I'm not fully sold on it yet. If I had to pick a day, it might be Sunday where there's something as that warm front comes in.
Okay.
But it's looking to me right now at this moment as if we get by dry. What we're not going to escape is the hotter air and the humidity.
Yeah.
So it's going to get roasty, toasty, and blah.
Yeah, I wasn't going to ask you for that.
I know. That's the things you don't want, but this is the give and the take of where we are. So you're going to go from jackets the past night or two to full-blown shorts, tank tops, flip-flops, cranking on the AC in about a week's time.
Right in time for July 4th.
Bingo.
So that does make sense. I'm relishing in the moment that we're in because this feels like the spring
that we did not get.
Yeah.
It feels like it, so soak it up. I said that on the air yesterday night, is like, listen, if this is your kind of weather, this is your spring, the next couple of days are for you, a little rain chance, nothing severe. That's all you get. That's all better than a day or two.
That's true,
And
but
then we go full bore into the cliche of hotter than a firecracker, just in time for 4th of July.
well, I'm happy for everyone that wants to get out on the lake and do all of the things for 4th of July without a jacket on. You know, I do understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I walked out today, I was like,
I know. There is something to be said this time of year when it's not overly hot, it's not overly humid, and you're not dodging severe weather.
it felt phenomenal.
Just to take that breath in and go, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, spring lovers,
There you go.
we're getting our couple of days
Yes.
before the summer lovers
I
take
know
over.
you've got more guests to get in the program here, and I got a 4 o'clock program to get ready for myself. I do want to tease ahead to that.
Come on.
There have been some new numbers. We've talked a lot about Illinois and tornadoes over the past
Yeah,
couple of days.
leading the way.
Well, guess who now wants to get into the action? Indiana wants to set some records for tornadoes. And so new numbers have come out from that state. I'm going to have those. We're going to take a look at what we've seen across the entirety of the states, plus just right here in the Chicagoland area. And some of these numbers are just astounding and incredible. And keep in mind the severe season is nowhere close to being over yet.
Right.
So we'll look at that coming up at 4 o'clock.
Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. You know, we were speaking with someone from Northern Illinois University, a professor from Northern Illinois University in the 2 o'clock hour, I think that was, about our record here in Illinois. But yeah, so you've done the digging for Indiana as well.
Yeah, because they're starting to ring the bell going, hey, listen, Illinois is taking all the headlines, but we in our own state are making some records that we're not proud of. And so I want to share those numbers to make sure everybody's aware of what's been going on in our 2 states here. This has been just a bizarre 2026.
We're taking records. They're trying to take our team. Okay, that's a whole nother conversation.
I just do weather. I don't do sports. I have no dog
It
in
all
it.
works together right now. You know, the Bears are part of every conversation right now. Let's take a 2-minute break, everyone. We'll be right back. right, welcome back, everyone. Just about 3:41, so let's go ahead and bring in our next guest, Professor James Heckman, Henry Schultz Distinguished Service Professor in Economics and the College and Director of Center for the Economics of Human Development. Thank you so much for your time.
Can you hear me?
I can. Professor Heckman, can you hear me?
Yes, only getting an echo. I'm trying to turn my phone off.
Uh-oh.
I put you on and then I slowly. I don't know why it won't shut off. Hold on a second. Okay, here it is.
All right. Am
Go
I
ahead.
still
I'm
echoing?
through. I'm through with it. Okay, yes. Okay, I'm good.
Okay, all right, wonderful. Professor Heckman from University of Chicago, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, pleased to see you. See if I can help you, if any way.
You said you need to turn your camera on. We'd like to see you,
The
sir.
Oh, the camera's not on?
Nope.
We see it. Does it say CEHD conference room?
Let's see. Still working this out.
Oh, this is crazy.
Okay, we think we can. Do we have it now? All right, Professor Heckman, we can see
Okay.
you.
Very good. With a
All
lag.
right.
Okay.
You know, sometimes it just takes a little while for us to work through the tech issues, but we're here now. You can hear me, I can hear you, and we can see each other.
Good.
Talk to us about what you see happening to the fertility rate here in the United States of America and where you're seeing change in other countries.
Well, what you're seeing in the United States is what's happening really almost all countries in the world, and in fact everywhere. Most countries, and we're talking about Europe, Asia, and South America, and all places that are inhabited, have shown a decline in fertility rates over the last 20 or 30 years. It's been a pretty steady decline. A little bit of a rise and then a fall. So what we're seeing in the United States is not uniquely American. And it's a pattern of changing fertility patterns. It's a pattern where people are now going to getting married later, if they're getting married at all, and people are going to college and going to education, delaying the onset of fertility. And even after education, often delaying the onset of fertility in order to advance their careers. So it's a worldwide trend. Africa and some parts of Muslim Asia are above replacement. But even those areas have shown a decline in fertility. And down the road, I expect those countries will decline. India, China, Russia, you name it. And almost every country on earth is experiencing a decline. And most are below replacement levels.
Wow.
Which means then the population will eventually shrink if these fertility levels are maintained.
Wow. And I'm seeing South Korea is looking at this as a full-on crisis and really doing some maybe unconventional things to change what is a troubling trend.
Well, South Korea is unusual. It's unusually low. And this, the sacred number here, the important number of the so-called total fertility rate, which is a measure of where in a population that repeats itself over and over again, so-called steady state population, that 2 is the sacred number. So if you have 2 children per person, per couple, then the couple replaces itself. In Korea, it's 0.7, which is way below replacement. But it's not unique. I mean, there are other countries that have very, very low replacement rate. Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, and we're seeing low levels of fertility throughout Asia and in other parts of Europe. Eastern Europe, very, very low. So yes, South Korea sees itself having a crisis, but you've got to be really careful because there really isn't a crisis here. We've got to be really careful about understanding what's the difference between something that's what we call the transitional state, where the population is declining suddenly or precipitously in terms of birth rates declining, and what would be called the steady state, where all of this settles in. The population may shrink, but even with a shrinking population, you can have growth. Per capita income can be high. In fact, it can even be higher under certain models. So we needn't worry. But certainly true that in the short run, the birth dearth, which is a serious question all around the world, and at least in most developed portions of the world and even underdeveloped portions of the world, is a serious crisis because our social systems are kind of key to the idea that the younger generation will support the older generation The older generation will retire, will get certain benefits, and on and on and on. So there are a number of current social institutions in place that are imperiled, at least in the short run, by having low fertility rates.
So I'm seeing that, just kind of listing off some of the things that South Korea does. They give the municipal government offers housing for newlyweds and new parents for $1 a day. Again, to spur families to
Yes.
a lump sum of about $2,000, their national government, for new parents, which increases for every subsequent child, and a monthly allowance of about $100. They do medical aid. I mean, a woman who is doing IVF in Seoul can try 25 times per child born, most of that covered by the government. And I think about how expensive, and I think that for a lot of people, it's not a cold heart that keeps people from having big families. It's the cost. Kids cost.
Well, you got to be really careful about what you mean by cost, because some of the cost is what economists would call opportunity cost. Remember, raising a child is a very expensive proposition, not just in terms of dollars or yuan or whatever the currency we're talking about, but in terms of what's called opportunity cost. Usually, and typically around the world, it varies from country to country, but women are bearing the greater burden of this childbearing and certainly childbearing, but certainly child rearing process. Opportunities for women have changed a lot. Women have become more educated. In most countries of the world, more women are going to college than men in a given age cohort. So the world is now different for women than it was 40 or 50 years ago. And part of the cost here for the woman is a foregone earnings in a career of her own, and the kind of liberty and freedom that many women today, modern women, will treasure. I'm not saying all women are alike, all women have the same values. They don't. There's a lot of variety. But there's a lot of also resistance to what had been a traditional role for the woman as the primary child bearer, child tender, and the reason being that they have a lot of opportunities outside the home and in the larger world that have been opened up in almost all countries around the world.
I fully agree with you.
It's not just that. And in Korea in particular, I understand Korea is a very bizarre case. It's very low, but it's not only low. A lot of other low, Singapore and many other places. But what's going on there is twofold. This has been studied intensively by economists. And one of the issues about South Korea is something that's called keeping up with the Joneses, although probably call it keeping up with the Kims. And that is the following. There's a very strong peer effect going on here, a pretty strong norm that children born to Korea, very high level of educational attainment in Korea, many children going to college. The cost of children is basically going to include things like sending the kid to tutors every night after school, sometimes 6 or 7 hours a night, but at least 3 or 4, and that's expensive. It's called hagwon in Korea. And secondly, everybody's doing this. And the idea is you want all your kids to go to the equivalent of Harvard in Korea, National Seoul University. And so there's a competition. And so Korean women in particular are being burdened with this kind of notion of keeping up with the Joneses, a kind of what we might call a Veblen effect, trying to have a similar consumption standard, do for your children a lot, and therefore it's costly. So there's a very interesting phenomenon where the value of a child is so great and the prestige of having your child succeed is so great that it becomes costly. And so keeping up the standard that's put in place is a very, very costly process. Not just money, but time. Time and the fact that there are real costs. So when a woman goes to have a child, has a child, and spends less time at work and less time in developing her career, there are real career costs. And women increasingly recognize that and decide not to do it. Childlessness is growing tremendously around the world, and it's very high in Korea, precisely because A lot of women simply don't see this as a good opportunity. So it's a very general cultural change that's at work. Economic forces, yes, but it's more than that. It's really like a new sense of what women's role shall be.
Yeah.
And this is true around the world. And in many places of the world, we think, we used to worry a lot about adolescent childbearing and so forth. That's fallen in the United States and in many other countries around the world. What's happening is that there's more women going to school, more women getting careers, more women essentially exercising the freedoms that have opened up for them. One of the great costs is having children. Many women want children, but that would be often having one child, not having two. And it is a very, very real drain on the woman working and raising the kids and doing all this. So there really is a process that's going on culturally and economically, recognizing the fact that women are now playing more roles, have more choices, and those choices are enticing them away from the traditional role of being a mother, raising kids at home, having 2 or 3 kids. Very costly from the point of view of giving up all those other options.
Professor Heckman, I could talk to you about this all day. I don't have more time for you today, but hopefully we'll get to circle back with you and talk about it again another time.
Okay, well, let me tell you one thing if I can. Oh, I guess it's too late.
We'll talk to you again soon. All right, sir?
All right, very good. Yep,
Take
thank you.
care. All right, everyone. Very intriguing conversation there for a number of reasons. I really could have talked to him for quite more time, but we want to get one last quick conversation in before we turn you over to the 4 o'clock show. And this really is about the future of Chicago. I mean, Chicago 2126. I mean, we're in 2026 now, so I know it's a far way away, but let's bring in Brian Vital with Gensler Chicago's co-managing director, the leader of an effort to look at the future of our great city. If you think it's wonderful now, what could it be this far from now in 2126? Brian, are you there? Can you hear me all right?
I'm here, yes. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, so as you all pictured the future, what are you thinking for our city?
Well, I'll tell you, this effort was a really interesting opportunity to, it was a collaboration between New City Magazine and Gensler, the architecture firm and design firm here in Chicago. And it was all about looking at what issues are not only plaguing the city today, but really the future. And how can we start to think and be provocative about what those issues are and how to solve them? One thing that this project really wasn't, and I think it's important to state this is not a finite answer. I think most of what we try to do is get across were conversation starters, or to create dialogue and to get people talking about some of the issues that we'll be faced with in the future. And that's really what the charge was here, and why we're excited to share some of these really sort of ideas or gestures with everyone.
So when you think of issues of 2126, what are those that kind of rose to the top?
Yeah, so we looked at 5 different topics. One was that we know for a fact that we're going to get warmer, right? Climate is going to change. We know that we're going to get wetter. We've seen that. The amount of rain that we've been seeing over the last few years and the storms that have been coming through. We know there's going to be a need to be denser, that we're going to need to find places for people to live, maybe in non-traditional locations. We know that the population is going to get older. That's another thing that we have to deal with. And we are all going to be both physically and virtually more connected. And so those were the 5 things that we wanted to take on as sort of the initial ideas about where the Chicago needs to focus and in its future.
And what were some of the tweaks, some of the solutions that you all came up with in terms of what could possibly help us as those things are happening?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we can go through each one of them very quickly, but the fact that we're going to see warmer temperatures. So we really started to focus on what is Chicago's greatest asset, which is the lakefront. We know that we're going to see rising water levels, and we wanted to make sure we were still providing absolute public access to that waterfront. And so we started to think about how to do that. And there are images that you can see in New City that share what that means. But it's about bringing water into the city through controlled channels, providing more beach access, but also being careful in understanding that these levels are going to change, and how are we resilient in a way that still is a beautiful solution. And certainly we wanted this, the lakefront needs to be beautiful, but also resilient, as I mentioned. When we talk about getting wetter, we have to figure out what to do with stormwater. We are seeing these 100-year floods that are happening seemingly almost every year. And so the sewer system is taxed. And so how can we find natural ways to deal with stormwater and also help beautify the city? And so we looked at opportunities in the alleyways to turn those into canals that can bring water when it rains through. And when it's not raining, they become these beautiful gardens. From a denser standpoint, again, you hear people talking about the housing shortage. We know that at some point we're going to run out of property to build housing on. And so we started thinking about interesting ways, like what are the possibilities over the river or over rail lines, over the metro line? Where are places that we're not thinking about building that are opportunities in the distant future if we're forced to do that? We all know that we're getting older. The population is getting older. And so how do we create a city, that is immediately walkable and that everything is sort of within arm's reach so that as we get older, we can age gracefully, have all the services near us and not have to always get into an Uber, go across town and so forth, but have these things at your fingertips. And last, connected. I think we're going to see an amazing opportunity with the rooftops of Chicago as we go from traditional transportation on the ground to how we'll be communicating and transporting through the air at a local level.
So many things that you all have tied together there, and I can't wait to see the images. We'll add the images when we're posting this online and showing it in later broadcasts, because they are astounding. So having all of this put together, thank you so much for your time. We certainly appreciate it, and thank you all for what you've done to get our motors turning as to what the future of Chicago could be.
Thank you. We have to dream big, and that's where we want to get back to. So
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time.
Dream big. Thank you. Take care. Have a good rest of your afternoon. And we hope that all of you who have been watching today will have a great rest of your afternoon as well. We've had some wonderful conversations about where we are today with many things, but then also where we're going, whether it's as a city, whether it's our sporting teams, or whether it's as a society. We certainly hope that we'll see you back here tomorrow for another day of Chicago Live from 1 to 4 p.m. We'll turn you over to the 4 o'clock news now.